Good afternoon, Columbus, Georgia. Welcome to the Mark LaJoy podcast. And we've got we got some special guests here today, and we've got our regulars back. So tell them what happened to you.
Oh, man.
Julia Pierce.
Yeah. I had some issues with my teeth for a little bit. And
It was some pretty serious stuff, wasn't it?
yeah, it landed me in the hospital for a bit. I'm great now.
I was looking at the pictures, man. Your face was all swelled up on one side. I was
Yeah.
my wife kept asking me, she said, how's Julia doing? How's Julia doing? I said, she's doing okay. She's doing okay.
Yeah.
I said, she's got a husband. He'll take care of her.
Yeah, he did. He ended up staying home from work for a few days.
Did he really?
He did. And he took care of the kids, took care of the house, took care of the animals. I
Great.
got to get some rest. It's like the first time in years, since I had babies, that my husband was waiting on me hand and foot.
Oh, yeah, I bet you took advantage of that, didn't you?
I didn't take advantage, but I was definitely grateful.
Yeah. Well, welcome, Sarah. Sarah Smith's back again already, my other co-host in the program.
Hello.
And she's doing a fantastic job getting things done.
Yay.
Yes. Holding down the fort, right?
You're holding down the fort. That's right. So we got a special guest on today, and David, right? Young.
That's correct.
David, welcome to the Mark LaJoy podcast. It's a pleasure to have you on. And I'll kind of start out, how did we really got on here? I think it was a request that you made, if that wasn't. And it was just like, hey, why don't you just have ordinary citizens on, right?
Just anybody. Yeah.
Right, just anybody.
You said, well, when you coming on? I said, well, okay.
Yeah.
Well, welcome, David, and to the podcast. And just tell me a little bit about yourself.
Lifelong Columbus resident.
Okay.
Married 20 years. Got two teenagers. One's about to be 20, daughter 18.
Nice.
So yeah, Columbus is my home. I work for a large road construction company. I handle all the supply chain logistics, so I stay very, very busy. We got a lot going on in that industry, so a lot of infrastructure stuff going on, so I stay very busy.
Were you ever in the military or anything?
No,
Never doing
no.
the military time?
Straight from high school, straight to work here in Columbus.
Wow.
Yeah,
That's
graduated
awesome.
from Shaw High School here.
Really?
Nice.
Yep, class of 93.
Really? So, so when you talk about logistics and stuff like that, that's kind of right up my alley, during the military, the things that I've done,
I love that.
in some of the positions that I had served in are heavy on logistics, especially, on support companies and things that I've worked in before.
yeah.
I had parachute riggers, I had doctors, I had all kinds of stuff in my companies. And, we had veterinarians and those types of things. And so all of it and petroleum specialists, all of it requires logistics, every bit of it, transportation. And working as a government contractor, we did exactly the same thing. I had to supply supplies in front of or behind as a contractor when we came in for training. So it's important, when you're shipping equipment out, to do the training, and then you're shipping separate.
You got to track it all. Yeah.
Yeah, you got to track all that stuff through the mail or how it's going down. So it's a hell of a thing to do. I'm going to tell you, it took up at least 90% of our time was the shipping and logistics of everything we did.
Oh, yeah.
The rest of it was easy. The instructor part of it was easy because the training was already developed. So we want to talk about a few things that's on your agenda. One of the things that I wanted to bring up, and we're talking about these data centers. So the data centers, the more that during the campaign, I talked about exactly that I wasn't in favor of it. And the reason I wasn't in favor was not for a couple twofold reasons, which was I don't like to put the burden on anything to the consumer itself. If there's a lot of consumers out there that if their electricity goes up, if their water and other things go up, those are some of the things that I'm never been in favor of. I don't like to see extra cost. I hate it when the city does all these sneaky things that they do behind the scenes, like the baseball park, $50 million that was voted on. Those types of things, those things really piss me off. It really does. And that's one of the reasons that I ran for mayor, was for the very fact that they're doing shady things behind the scenes
Yeah.
and
no
not
transparency.
no transparency, not getting the
They're-
public
they're telling
involved.
us
in
what's
it.
best for us.
Yeah, sounds like communism to me. We got communism coming.
The sirens.
Uh-oh. I
We're
guess
coming for you.
They're coming for us. But in the data centers we're looking at now, one of the arguments is that it uses excessive water. And we're seeing that now. The data that I've seen is said that it uses 0.5% water because it's a closed loop system. Now,
No.
I know some of the data centers that were there, and I know you were going to have an argument here.
Yeah.
But
We have
actually,
two.
what I found out today was that how much water does a golf course use?
I don't know how much, but I know that it uses quite a lot.
And how many golf courses do we have in Columbus?
5.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean,
5
think
or
about
6, yeah.
5 or 6. And you have to figure there's water on those golf courses.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the fact is that they're using more water than the actual data centers using.
Really?
Yes.
Well, from what I heard, that
Here we go.
yeah.
What I heard. Where's the hands? Come on. Let me see the hands.
What I've seen is that they use millions of gallons per day.
Yeah.
Now,
Mhm.
from what the city has said, that I guess our whole city uses about 30 million gallons per month,
Okay.
or maybe it's per day. I don't know.
And the
I
golf
believe you.
courses use 1 million, you said?
I thought it was 30.
Oh, so
Like-
the golf course use 30 and the city of
No,
Columbus
no,
does
the
30.
whole city as a whole.
The whole city
Yeah.
as a whole.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So I mean, I could be wrong. I could be wrong on those numbers, but from what I've heard, that's for the collective city. But a data center uses millions per day of gallons of water. Now, I also seen where you don't have to utilize water. Like some data centers, you don't have to,
Mhm.
but the ones that are in the South apparently uses millions of dollars worth of not millions of dollars, millions of gallons worth of water. And they say it starts off with like 300,000 or so
Uh-huh.
per day, but then it actually consumes more than what people have said, what they've said.
Now the
Yeah.
question is, and I'll pose this to you, is that a closed loop system or is that an open loop system?
You know, I'll be honest, I don't
Yeah,
know the
I don't
difference.
know.
See, that's the difference, I think, in a lot of this stuff, because some of the old, I would say old data centers, they're fairly new. I would say probably just a couple of years. That's some that have already been produced, but they were probably under an open water system and rotation of water.
I would think that outside of a data center, like, so if it's just a golf course, that it would be an open loop system. And the reason that I say that is because you think about it, like if you're running your hoses and your sprinklers and all of that stuff, it's connected to your current water supply. They don't need to recycle or continue to like close that off. And I think about that from like a data center perspective. So they say it's a closed loop system. And what that seems like to me is kind of like a swimming pool. Like you have all the water in the pool and you're just recirculating it through a pump. You're cleaning it, you've got filters and stuff. But what's interesting about that is because I used to work in the computer field, like I was in the networking, I used to work for TSYS. And so like we had server rooms, data centers, and all of that stuff for TSYS to handle all the international traffic for the profiles and credit card processing and things like that. And we had to keep all of those server rooms cool.
Oh, yeah.
Right.
So, we didn't particularly, that I know of, use cooling technology with water, but I know that they are doing that now with the data centers because obviously you can regulate that temperature a lot better than just using air supply or something like that.
See, that's what I think. I'm like, if AI is so advanced, how is it that they couldn't put into AI a remedy that deals with the whole water consumption, cooling, situation? And from what I've heard as well, everything's heard, it's like that there is technology that can cool the reservoirs to where you don't need that much water consumption. So I'm like, are they just wanting to do the whole water thing because it's the cheaper, I guess?
Most economical way.
I have a
Yes.
theory.
What? Here we go.
Let's hear it.
Let's hear your theory.
Okay, so I've done a lot of research and from what I can tell in a lot of the research, that a lot of movies that we watch are programming for things that are already happening,
Yeah,
right?
that's true.
And so we have all of these sci-fi movies that end up incorporating AI or alien technology or whatever, and they come in and their main resource is water. Like, we want to consume the water supply, because if you consume the water supply, then you control the population.
Yeah.
And they're having a hard time doing that through the elections. Obviously, people are waking up, right? They can't pass on pandemics anymore. So let's pass on data centers. So honestly, my question is do they really need the water, or is that a front?
Yeah.
Well, see, that's David. Let's hear from you.
Yeah.
What do you know about the data center so far?
Well, basically, like we were talking about, people, you had one at work, you said, like a big server, basically, that backed up, and you cooled it with just the climate control of the building, basically. That's how most companies do it.
Yep.
So that's basically what this data center is, just a big server that backs up information.
Yeah.
So what's the water consumption for? Just to keep it cool while it operates?
Yeah.
I think
Allegedly.
I
Yeah.
think the supercomputers that they have, these are just, you can put a whole bank of supercomputers in a room like this versus used to be in a room, probably a room that was, 200 feet by 200 feet, years and years ago. But everything, because of, the data on the chips and all that stuff are smaller. Now, I mean, there's more information you can put on them. I think I think these data centers they're linked directly to the AI generation. And so, and I know some of the argument is that if we don't embrace this technology, that China is going to get ahead of us.
Yeah. That's
And
the biggest thing.
and I think that's a valid reason. I think it is a valid reason that, China, we don't want China they're already ahead of us in different ways. I mean, they're in the production mode of building more ships than we're building right now. Even though that
Isn't
we have,
this what Tommy Tuberville just talked about?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Okay.
I mean, this is some of the things that we have to worry about. And, China's playing a game behind us, and we don't even know half the things that they're involved in. I mean, seriously.
Well, I mean, it just came out that they were part of the hijacking of our elections in 2020. And before everybody comes for us, okay, the documents have been
you.
declassed, so you can go look.
Look yourself.
This isn't just Julie saying
Oh.
I know.
like,
I know.
D-class dogs.
Well, I will say that as things shift, because there's also with AI, there's a whole new era that people don't really understand or don't foresee coming when it comes to quantum computing. So like we have AI and we have the processors that we're used to now, but apparently these processors are way slower than the quantum computing that they're trying, and that goes in with the chips and all these different things that they're trying to
the
put into these.
multiverse.
I mean, you can go into a very
Yeah.
deep rabbit hole when it comes to
Yeah.
quantum computer. But as far as, finances, as things go digital, a lot of our finances and the transactions that they're going to have to do, they want these data centers to do it easier, I guess. And
it does do it easier. I mean,
Yeah.
we use that for a lot of things that we do for this show,
Yeah.
like the software that we uses AI, so like it
Well,
does make things easier.
I mean, if you do a bank transaction, it's going to be AI. It's
Yeah.
going to be it's going to be developed in there. So my question is, or answer really is, embrace it. I mean, let's embrace the technology if it makes it easier for us. But I post some things on there, and everybody goes, "Oh, that's an AI generated picture." Okay, and your point? I don't really care. Thank you.
Yeah. Welcome to the future.
That just saved me about an hour's worth of work. I was like, "Come on, man, this is crazy."
yeah, I would embrace it if it wasn't environmentally harmful. Like
Well, we
this-
don't know that yet. We really
Well,
don't.
no, we do. Okay, because like I have seen. Okay, so Erin Brockovich, we all know who she is,
Oh,
right?
God.
She's actually leading the data center effort in a lot of different places right now. And, she was linked to uncovering the Hinkley, it was Hinkley, Pennsylvania, or I can't remember what state it was, but, they made a movie with Julia Roberts in it. And so she's leading this charge, but there's lots of people who are already like that they're on the news. You can Google it, where they're actually, they'll show you like, hey, this is the water pressure that I have.
Yeah.
Or hey, this
exactly.
is
That's what
I
I've
actually
seen.
saw something
And is it
today.
bad or good water pressure?
It's bad.
Bad. And then you get
Drip, drip.
Yeah, and then you get, what is it? It's like pushed back, like the, what is it? The sediments within the pipe.
Yeah. There's like all
Yeah.
sorts of like contaminants in there.
Yeah.
And then I just saw something today where farmers have been coming forward where all of their livestock are actually dying because of drinking the water or whatever, the noise or the light pollution that's
Yeah.
coming off of the data centers.
Yes, I heard
And
that.
then there's like cattle that every single one of their newborns are they're being stillborn. They're like being born, but there's no life in them.
And that could be to anything. It could be.
Well,
it could be a
do
generator.
data centers spoil our water? Do they mess it up
Well,
for consumption? I mean, potable water.
I mean, if it's in a closed loop system, like they say, it shouldn't. But here's the thing, like
I don't think they're all in a closed loop system.
I don't think they are either.
That's just something. That's a new development. Is the closed loop system?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, that's not something that's been going on ever since then. I think this is new because of what you're talking about. What we're all talking about
Mm-hmm.
is that not only the consumption but the contamination of the water that's coming from the cooling, the data center.
I think to understand that, how that, like what the expulsion of whatever that is that's causing the toxicity in the water allegedly, is to understand how that water goes through these servers, because ideally, the way that I understand it is it's simply a system, kind of like when you get a cooling fan for your laptop, it just sits under there and it provides cooling to that to keep the temperature regulated so the components don't overheat and things don't shut down. So I think in order to understand, is that going through like a metallic device, is it causing corrosion of certain
Yeah.
things? Are some of the metal components that
Is
are
it like
are,
a car?
Yeah,
Like
yeah. So
antifreeze and all
I
that.
think we have to understand that, but it doesn't appear to me that if there's toxins that are coming from the water, that it's coming from the data center. So I feel, because that doesn't make sense to me, knowing what I understand about the cooling and stuff, about how that's supposed to regulate. So it doesn't make sense to me what is going to come from that goes into the water, that goes into the main water supply.
It's whenever they build it. So like, any new construction, you have runoff water that comes in, I guess that runs off as they're
Mhm.
building. So what I'm thinking, or what I've seen or heard, is like when they're building these reservoirs and they're having to get the water from the city, that some of that sediment that I guess got in the pipes or whatever as it was building. I don't know. I'm really
Yeah,
There's
but I
so
mean, we
mu-
have Columbus Waterworks,
Yeah.
and they do a lot of our. So
Yeah,
I
Look,
just-
there's
yeah.
so much contamination. Everybody does. Let me ask David. Let me ask your wife.
Sure.
You're in a beauty shop, correct?
Correct.
All right. What type of? I mean, you wash hair, and obviously you do wash and fix, but you're washing somebody's hair, and you're putting shampoo in it, and you're putting what else? What other kind of stuff is in it?
chemicals.
You're doing chemicals,
Yes,
right? And that chemicals, after you're done, it's going down the sink. It's going into the
Yes,
water
yes.
system. I mean, do they not? Do you not have any type of hazardous chemicals? I mean, we can look at a system. Let's say mechanics. I know I'm going to get attacked on all this. There's going to be garages. There's going to be beauty shops attacking
How
me.
could you, Mark?
How could you mention beauty shops? How could you do that? But the bottom line is that there's things that we dump in the water every day we take for
Yeah.
granted. Go to
Oh, yeah.
all your motor places, that any place that mechanics place, they wash their hands. Okay, they wash it with goop,
Oil.
and the goop and
Yep.
the oil goes into the system.
Yeah.
Beauty shops, the contamination you're putting in there.
Hey, think about
Hospitals.
funeral parlors. Did you know funeral
Yeah.
homes just drain the bodies when they're embalming
Yes.
them, and all that goes right down the regular drain?
Yeah.
I went and toured a facility, and I said, wait a minute, you don't have your own little water treatment things? No, we just put it down the drain. What? So it goes to the Columbus Waterworks and gets treated, but
So-
all the bodily fluids that were drained out of people in a funeral parlor go straight to the
Yeah.
waterworks.
That's I'm
That's a
saying.
kinda
good
weird.
point.
There's so many
Yeah.
A lot
reasons.
of DNA in there.
If we really individually break,
I never even thought about that.
Right.
if we individually just break things down, where's contamination that's going in our system every day?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, there's thousands and thousands of gallons that's going in every day based on just these things we just talked about.
But
We just talked about water consumption. Probably nobody even thought about this, but a golf course, the way that the amount of water they use in there, but you don't hear anybody complain about golf courses. Now I'm going to get attacked from the golfers. They're going to come in like, oh, you just don't know what you're talking about. You know, it was like,
well, my
Okay.
thing is like, isn't it one is waste? So you put it down the waste drain, and then what's actually feeding into the houses. So some of these people, like Julie was mentioning, like when they turn on their drain for fresh water, it's coming out with sediments,
Which
in
means
there.
it's not being filtered
Ex-
correctly at the
That-
treatment
that's at the
plant.
source. That's
Yeah.
the filtration is at the source. So what type of small talk do we get? You're working in a beauty shop.
Right.
The best thing to learn about information is from a beauty shop or a barber shop.
I
Am
agree.
am I not right?
Nope, you're right.
Is there small talk? Tell me what you hear
There
about
is
what's
small
going on
talk. I've
inside.
had a lot of people that are concerned. They're concerned about the water, but they're also concerned about the electric, the power.
Yes,
the
the
power
pow-
source.
Okay.
Yes.
What is that going to do, especially with Georgia Power?
Yeah.
You know, are we going to have to foot that bill later?
Well,
Yeah.
I have
Yeah, that's
yeah, but see, here's the thing, okay? As a citizen, I am charged for the consumption that I use, right? And so if a data center is using whatever amount of, I forget how they do it per
Watts,
day.
yeah.
But, if they're using, kilowatt hours, that's right, thank you. If they're using this, then they should be responsible to pay that. And so my thing is as a power company, now I don't know all the inner workings of the marketing side and the business and the overhead and all of that, but why do we need to even worry about the increase of rates if we have a multi-million-dollar company that's coming in, that's making money to do all of this stuff, even though they have the money to pay it? So why would we even have to worry about them increasing our rates?
Well, maybe that's why we shouldn't. Didn't they ask Georgia Power? Georgia Power
Yeah.
released a statement about it.
Yeah,
said,
they
no,
did.
The citizens do not end up footing the bill for that.
But
Basically.
they talk, right? Like we've seen that. They talk, they tell us what we want to hear,
Yeah.
and then they expect us to forget it, and 6 months from now, oh, we're having a rate increase. Yeah.
What was that volatile plant that was built, and then everybody in the state of Georgia's power bill went from 8 kilowatts per millisecond or
I
whatever
don't remember that.
till about 16, then now 32. Yeah, they tell us all the time that they're not going to raise our rates, but they just slowly do.
Listen, Georgia Power is one of the most powerful, and Alabama Power is
I
one
hope
of
they
the most
go under.
Yeah, well, they're the most powerful.
We need another choice.
The most powerful companies in the southeastern United States.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And let me tell you something. The Public Service Commissioner that just got reelected. They just got two that got reelected.
Selected. Okay, go ahead.
They are more powerful. Well, selected, yeah.
I don't
They
even
got
call them
they got
elections.
more power. They have more power than a governor has. I'm not kidding.
Yeah.
They're very powerful because the power companies, right, are gonna that they send them to all of these extravagant, meetings. They put them up in hotels. They give them good food. Trust me, I know the in or outs of the Public Service Commissioner, and so these are the most powerful companies in the world.
Mhm.
The power companies.
They're like
Yeah.
Verizon and
Yeah.
T-Mobile.
Yeah,
like
they-
they have a monopoly on them.
My personal opinion about this whole thing is the bottom line is I think that it started off as a good concept, about talking about power bills and water and all that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. And I said it, like I said it during the election, that I wasn't in favor of it at the time because I didn't know enough about it. But the more that I'm getting onto it and I see who's attached to it, then I'm going,
What's in it for them?
my cop sense says that these liberals, eco nuts, have grabbed a hold of this thing because the dirty air, water, and all the other reasons, flying on their jets around the world didn't pan off or didn't come off the way they wanted it to.
Climate change is a
Climate
failure.
change. So now we've got to try another
Yeah,
aspect
that's true.
of climate change. That's my assumption of what's going on. And this demonstration this weekend, I looked at all the videos and There are local liberals that are walking around downtown. It's the same ones always involved
Liberal
in the
Libby.
same.
Like-
Well, do you guys remember when we had Sean Rocks on here
Yeah.
and he was talking about Choose Columbus and he was talking about how like everything that happens in Columbus goes through Choose Columbus, and he's actually been sharing that Missy, what's her last name?
Night.
What is it?
Night.
No,
No,
No.
Oxford, Mitzi Oxford.
I don't remember her. I don't think that doesn't sound right. Missy, it's Missy something. I
Oh,
can't.
Missy. Okay.
Missy,
I'm
yeah.
sorry.
And so like supposedly,
Apologize, Mitzi.
yeah. So like she supposedly, he's saying something about like that there's like money involved in it for her, like her,
Yeah, she's getting paid to do that.
yeah, like
Yeah.
propagandizing all of this stuff. But I wanted to mention this too. Hey, Mark, you and I have a mutual friend. I'm not going to name him here, but
We do?
yeah. And do you remember when he shared with us that a lot of times when the wealthy people in Columbus, run their pools and, do all of these things, like they build these big, businesses and stuff,
Mm-hmm.
that instead of the wealthy people paying what they're supposed to pay for the consumption
give
that
it to
they
us.
use, they actually pass it on to the lower men on the totem pole and make them pay the consumption that the wealthy people are
Mm-hmm.
paying.
I think we should take a vote. Like, are we gonna?
Uh-oh.
Like, because I can see the positives. Like, if it means that we have an edge on a global scale, yes, of course, I want America to be first. And when it comes to AI and innovation and artificial intelligence, whatever. But my thing is like, do I have enough like valid, proven information about these data centers? No. And from what I've heard about it, from witness testimony, I'm like, no, I don't think they're a good idea. But like I said, these AI companies, or they should know how to find a remedy to deal with the water issues, to deal with the power issues, and the fact that it's not being done is just kind of.
Well, and the other thing that I want to add in here too, Sarah, because you and I both understand like things are being fulfilled prophetically, like from a biblical perspective, and we know that AI is part of that prophecy being fulfilled.
yeah.
So we know it's coming.
Yeah.
So like Mark
Yeah.
was talking about like embracing it.
We could
yeah.
go-
Well,
we
it's
could
just
go
a
down-
necessary evil. That's the best way
Yeah.
to look. It's
Yeah.
coming. It's probably
It-
not
it-
going to be great for us. It's not going to be horrible. It's not going to be great.
No.
Yeah.
So it's coming.
I think
Yeah.
We're just
We
going to
don't-
have to accept that we're going to have them. Like you said, if we're going to get advanced with stuff, we better have these data centers to back it up.
Yeah, and I think like I said, that, if you do banking, you're doing any of those other things that you're doing with, advanced computer systems. I mean, just look at where we came from. I remember a lot of people didn't ever have. I had a 256 computer, the first computer that came out. I had one of those, and it had a dual floppy drive on it. So you had one that was dot matrix. You had to put it in, and then that loaded up the program so that you could open the other disk programs, 5.5, 5.25-inch disk. So we've gone from something this size that ran the space shuttle, basically, this is a supercomputer compared to what was on the space shuttle, to where we're at now. We're leaps and bounds.
Oh yeah.
And I mean, if we're talking about going into outer space, we're talking about our first trip is back to the moon.
Yeah. Let's.
And then a base. and a-
Conspiracy theories are
and a base from there. Yeah, I can see your brain working
Why
already.
are we going to the moon first?
This
Look.
is why I love Sarah.
I'm
There's a
gonna
reason
ca-
they want to go there first.
Yeah, I'm going to caveat this. I got money in SpaceX. I got a lot of it. So I'm hoping that they kick it off. I'm hoping we go to the moon.
Let's see. Let's
But,
see.
we're going to the moon, and then the next step's going to be Mars from there. That's, probably 10 years or 12 years.
Well, the liberals are going to hate it because Elon Musk will probably lead the campaign on that.
I know.
They're
Yeah.
going to say, "Oh no."
Look, and when
Yeah, I
people
know.
realize that we're accessing these planets through portals already, they're going to be like, "Whoa!"
Yeah, Stargate.
And that by the way, that's going to be another program. We're going to talk about the document.
Stargate.
I know.
We're going to talk about the documents that are coming out on the FBI, or that's coming out in the Department of Defense. That's going to be one of the shows. And
Yeah, I'm excited for that one.
yeah, and there's some stories I can tell about all of this stuff. But anyway, yeah. So I think we just got to embrace it. I think it's something that's going there. It's folks, you can resist, you can do all you want to, and it's coming. I don't
Right.
care what you're
Yeah,
doing with
that's
it.
true.
And
But we can keep it from coming here.
well. then what? Then it goes to Harris
It goes
County, and
somewhere
then
else.
somebody
I
in
know.
Harris County is going to.
Yeah, it would move somewhere.
They're
and
gonna
then have
bitch
another
about it,
fight
yeah.
about it there. Yeah.
So-
Well, where they're actually putting it, it's kind of right there, like
Yeah.
in between. So
Yeah.
Taylor and not Taylor. Well, actually, it is like Taylor, Talbot, Marion, Muskogee, like all that whole
Yeah,
that
you between.
area. It's accessible from
Yeah.
all of those counties.
Interesting.
Is the
We're gonna
tax
move-
revenue? Oh, go ahead.
Go ahead.
I was going to say, is the tax revenue off these really as high as they say? They say it's in the millions.
I
you know?
don't know, and again, that's why I said I don't know enough about gain on it or anything else that we're supposed to gain
Because the
from it.
proponents for it, I mean, that's what it's about. They want the tax revenue. So
Yeah.
how good is it?
Yeah,
But anyway, we can
Well,
move on from that.
we can tax it. The taxation is crazy here in Columbus. I mean, we're
And they
we're
give
taxed
tax
the
breaks.
highest in the state.
Oh yeah, they'll get
The
a tax
highest in
break.
the states. Businesses, it's horrible what's going on here. Yeah, so we beat that to death, folks. And if you want, you want some more, ideas, and I'm sure I'm going to catch a lot of hell because the keyboard warriors are going to be on here, and they go, "I got data that shows this and all that." I was like, okay, whatever. I don't really care. But the bottom line is, there's a lot of answered and a lot of unanswered questions
Sure.
when it comes to this. So let's talk about a little bit about the election. What were your opinion on this past election, and who
Yes,
actually got
David.
elected?
Tell us.
Yes. No,
Selected.
I was against it. I started out supporting you, Mark, first. I think I
Yeah.
told you that.
Yay!
yep,
Thank
Voted
you.
for Mark LaJoy.
Mhm.
So then we moved our support to
Kogel.
Kogel. Thank you, Joanne Kogel, and even I did some sign waving for her. Even tried to help out a little bit with that, but did not like the outcome of that. I think that it was the wrong person to get the job. I think he's proved not to do a good job. Why are we hiring him? I kind of get disgusted with the people that want to support
Yeah.
bad performance.
You know
anyway.
what's interesting about that whole thing was, and I participated, and I appreciate your vote. And I will caveat this, that he was a supporter. You didn't you didn't invite me out to the Rotary Club. And I spoke to the Rotary Club, right?
Well, it was the Optimist. Yeah.
Optimist Club.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
No, that's all right.
The Rotary Club was programmed after that, but we never did get on. So
we had every candidate come to the Optimist Club.
Yeah.
Everybody. Yeah.
And so the Optimist Club, what I liked about it was that you guys are involved in a lot of projects. And we're going to talk a little bit about that, what you guys are involved in. I love organizations that are involved in a type of projects supporting, our young people or, older people, homes, veteran homes and those types of things. I've always been a big supporter of that. But getting back to the election, the argument I had was basically not, Joanne was not what she said in a sense, but how she represented it. And everything that she said was based on her experience as a city council member. But it was never any advancement. What are we going to do like I talked about, my number one priority was the safety and security of Columbus and the people that's in it. It's always been that way, even when I ran for sheriff, was the fact that, I'm worried about our people here.
Yeah.
And crime, we just
Oh,
mentioned,
yeah.
we're number 22 in the nation out of 40. Out of 40 cities in the nation, we're ranked number 22 with the
And we're not
homicides.
even a capital city.
Yeah, we're not even a capital city, and that's
Yeah,
crazy.
really.
And we're ranked 10th in the state of Georgia. And what really the argument I had with all of this was, we're talking about safety and security, that nobody had a plan. I'm the only guy that had a plan, and Sarah knows what it is. She's produced things about it and written about it, to ad nauseum about what my plan was.
I know. And then we have people like,
You know?
what is your
What are you
plan?
gonna do,
What
Mark?
is
Yeah.
it? I'm like,
And
idiots.
that's the ignorant part of people are so lazy. Okay, most people, I wouldn't say all of them, but most people are going, they're doing that for a reason. You know why they're doing? They're calling, wow, he just doesn't know. He don't have a plan either. And I was like, come on, man, seriously, you just didn't do your research.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yep.
Go back and do your research. Like I said, it's been mentioned throughout the campaign on different pages and everything that we talked about. And you don't need to be a rocket scientist to figure out these things.
Right.
I sat down in 5 minutes, and she knows when I first developed it as sheriff, it was an 8-step crime reduction strategy.
Mhm. You reduced it.
Right. And we reduced it because some of the things, the parameters changed, just like I told you about, the data centers. The more I'm learning now, the more I'm shifting toward a positive role to having it, because once you learn things and you educate yourself, you change.
Yep.
Oh, yeah,
You change your ideals and you change things. And so I sat down and I said, well, this won't work now because we need to enhance it and we need to go here. But creating the overall part of creating a 5-step crime reduction strategy, a strategy toward the reduction of crime in Columbus, was to build a multi-level, multi-echelon task force here, made up of the surrounding counties from the Muskogee County Judicial District, and maybe our partners across the river. We can get them involved in it because we have to have that multi-level jurisdictional task force, and we got to go after these. We have to secure Columbus.
Yeah.
And until we can talk about all these social programs, we can talk about, food lockers and all that other kind of stuff. Nothing is going to happen until Columbus gets secure.
Right.
It's just not.
Right.
It's
You
just
got
not
to
going to
secure
happen.
the city. Yeah.
You got to secure it. I mean, I remember the days when I first got here, which was back in late 80s, like 88. And when I was first stationed here, it was back in 88. But the city was safe. It was fairly safe. And you could walk downtown, you never had a problem. You didn't have to worry about being attacked or any of those types of things. Now, you're not safe anywhere in the city. And a lot of people criticize me and they go, well, he's just talking about South Columbus. No, it's all over the city, folks.
Yeah.
It's all over.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter where you come from. 2 years ago, well, a year and a half ago, I had 2 cars chasing themselves in a North Columbus neighborhood. Right? And they were shooting at each other.
Yeah.
And the reason I knew about it is my neighbor, the next day I woke up and I was outside mussing around and he come running over and said, Mark, did you hear all that shooting that happened last night? I said, no, where'd it happen? He goes, right out here outside our house. And the 9mm bullet casings were outside on the street where they were traveling through my neighborhood. I have a long neighborhood road in there. Lamont Lane is a long neighborhood, right? And they were coming through there at a high rate of speed and they were chasing each other. So that's why I said when I go down and I sit down and I look at this plan, as a matter of fact, the plan that I had actually presented when I ran for sheriff in, what was it, 2024 when
2024.
when I went to see Skip Henderson? Remember that? It's all
I
blurred
think
right
that
now.
was your previous run, Mark.
Yeah.
Was that
Because
the
I
previous
remember
run? Okay.
helping you
That's probably
on
2020.
that.
Oh, wait a minute. Now they're going to start mentioning I ran 5 times,
Okay.
right?
Well,
5 times for sheriff.
Who cares?
He unsuccessfully ran 5
Yeah.
times, 10, 20. I don't
That's
know.
old
Who cares?
news.
Yeah, it's old news, folks. Get on to something else. But the bottom line I did a presentation to Skip Henderson, and that was a 7-step crime reduction strategy. And I did that too, and the news was up. WTVM was out there, and they asked me a few questions afterward. That reporter is no longer here; he's gone. But he asked some very, very good questions, and I gave this presentation to Skip Henderson about the multi-level task force because that was still part of it, what we created and what we're going to do. And he was very interested in it. He may have been just giving me lip service for all I know. Who knows? But I left a copy with him.
That's surprising.
I actually left a copy when I said, sir, here's a copy of that. Get with me, when you're ready to implement this plan, and I'll be glad to kick it off for you. Never called. Crickets.
Nope.
Never heard nothing about it. They didn't want to give me credit for anything. They don't want, because I have a solution, and they didn't have a solution.
But they sure will take your ideas.
Oh
when
yeah, they
run
took a
their
lot of
candidate.
they took a lot of my ideas and ran with them.
Yeah.
And then cloned them as their own.
I think it's so sad, like when you see so many people dying. Like,
Yeah.
how many shootings have we had? in
Dude.
these past?
18.
Like, we've had a lot.
And
like,
kids too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, kid just recently. That's terrible.
11-year-old.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And a 14-year-old shot him, I think.
17-year-old.
17,
17.
yeah.
Was he 17?
17.
Okay.
You know what it was over?
No.
A gun exchange.
Gang activity.
Gun exchange. Same thing.
Yeah.
Same difference.
Yeah. But why are they not talking about like these being like linked to gang crimes?
Oh, wait a minute.
That's
Oh,
three.
wait a minute. The
We don't have-
Zohannans. We don't have a
We
gang
don't have
anymore.
Zohannans
The
anymore.
Zohannans
They've
have been,
done.
folks, the Zohannans have been defeated,
Yeah.
according to one particular law enforcement chief, whoever it is. Not chief, but he's the chief. Yeah. Anyway, yeah, we don't have the Zohannans anymore. They've been depleted. They're gone.
Yeah.
Anybody knows anything about gangs? Gangs don't go away, folks.
Yeah.
Nope.
They don't.
They rebrand themselves.
They rebrand themselves in a different name. It may be rolling 60s for all we know, because that is a gang, rolling
If you
60s.
eliminate their talk echelon to
Yeah.
to jail or whatever, they're just going to regroup and rename themselves.
Well,
The
they've
ones-
been able to flourish. The Zohannans were able to flourish because we didn't have any law enforcement initially going after them. And we had a mayor called TT, and I think everybody knows her initials, that said we didn't have a gang problem. We did not.
Gaslighting out
You
of
know?
space.
Yeah. We didn't have a gang problem. So, why should we go after gangs? We didn't have them. Well, I beg to differ you with Miss Mayor, because I was answering a call one night, and I won't give the avenue, but it was there next door, which was like one house over from me. There was another drive-by shooting going on at the same time that I was out taking a report about a drive-by shooting. But we never had a gang problem. Never did we have a gang problem. And that particular mayor supported the current or the elect mayor that we have right now.
And
yeah.
either her or her husband, I'm not sure, because it
Jesus.
says T. Tomlinson and,
Yeah.
Trip Tomlinson
Yeah,
and
Trip-
Teresa
Trip.
Tomlinson.
Yeah.
They're all over Isaiah Hughley's campaign
I
disclosures.
mean,
Yeah.
oh yeah,
Now,
oh yeah.
so other than what, I know you said you did some sign waving, but what specifically stood out in the campaigns? What stood out for you in what I was presenting out there?
The crime. Your
The
crime.
crime.
Oh yeah, that's got to be number one for whoever's going to be leading
Yeah.
the city next. You got to get control of the crime. Like you said, you got to make the city safe first.
Yeah.
You've got to secure the city. So that was my number one thing. I didn't think anybody else had a plan. I voted for Joanne Kogel eventually because of the runoff,
hmm
but I went to her opening campaign kickoff speech she gave at the Cunningham Center over at
Yeah.
CSU, and she said, "And as far as crime goes, we're not going to go back." That was kind of the plan. We're just not going to go back. And I said, "Well, what does that mean? Nobody
Right.
wants to go backwards. Yeah, and we don't want to go back to how it was, because it
Yeah.
was bad. Just before we hired Stoney Mathis in as police chief, it was getting pretty bad. We had it bad, and we did kind of started getting a grip on things. Things started getting controlled, but it's gotten out of hand again. You can tell it
Well,
has.
and what's interesting about that is because like a couple of weeks ago we were just talking about like how Stoney actually was doing a pretty good job of reducing the crime, and then here it is like the big old hubbub, where everybody was so upset and who all of these like people complaining about
What were they
his
complaining?
response to like he had the response that he gave about the gentleman
shooting.
that shot
Got
the
it.
lady at the
Oh,
DG.
that. I thought you meant
Yeah.
the crime coming
Or the-
down. Now I know what you're talking about. Okay, I'm
Yeah,
sorry.
and so now it's like literally like right after that is when we started seeing all these
Yeah, more
shootings again.
Yeah, it's like a retaliation effort.
Well,
to
I don't
go
think
back.
Well, I
it's
think we've got another
perpetuated.
uprising. We just got another uprising of these
Yeah.
bad people that are doing bad
Yeah.
things because we did seem to get a grip on it. We must have gotten some bad people off the street.
People get
But
crazy
there's
in the
people
heat.
coming right back behind it. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
just
Yeah,
it's
well,
not a good thing.
that's the thing is it's ever emerging, and it's going to get worse from here. It's just not going to get any better unless you have a solution to the problem.
Well,
And you just can't come out and say, well, now I'm the new elect mayor and they're going to listen to me. They're not going to listen to shit you got to say.
okay.
I mean, that's the bottom line because
That's their buddy.
But
Definitely.
here's the thing: if
That's
he, okay, allegedly, I'm going to put this out here. Okay, we had the 118-page sheriff's investigative report, and if you really read that, there were so many people
Implicated.
that were implicated in violations of the law, and Isaiah was one of them.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, but then you have an inept attorney, or a prosecutor, Mr. Wayne Jernigan, that the statute of limitations, and I'm not going to recommend.
but that was
these,
the hot potato.
yeah,
Remember?
but they're all like in each other's pockets.
but-
So the thing is if you got a criminal finance, and again, allegedly, if you allegedly have a criminal finance director that is allowing the people underneath him to get away with these alleged crimes, and you have these other people who were already arrested from the animal control thing, how are you going to expect someone who is allegedly a criminal to do anything about the crime?
And maybe Mark, you can help me with this because in my mind, if you are at a high level, whether it's sheriff, whether it's the CPD, like chief of police,
Mhm.
like don't you kind of have a grasp on where the threats are? Like
Oh,
know exactly the repeat offenders, you know where they are, where they
Yeah.
reside,
It's
they're
always the same thing with crime. it's usually always the same players all the time. You know, if we see them disappear for, 5 or 6 years, that means they went to prison and they're back out again and they're doing the same things they did before because that's all they know.
Well,
And
there's no
we've had,
reform. There's no reform. Yeah.
we had Walisha on our program, and
Yay, Walisha.
Yeah, she was fun.
she's a lot of fun. But Walisha has a
I know
program.
Alicia,
She has
yeah. I used to.
she has a program. It may not be the best program, but she's got. My point is she's got an idea,
And she's
Right.
talking about it. Yeah.
and she's
And
talking
she's doing
about
something
it.
with it.
But nobody is embracing that here.
Yeah.
She's got a very small group here, but a larger group north toward Atlanta.
Yeah.
And she's trying to do something about, when they get out. And I don't disagree with, them, I know a lot of the excuses are there's no employment, there's no jobs, there's nothing for kids to do. I've heard that crap for 20, 30 years. I've heard the same thing. But the bottom line is, I think it's a parental problem. I think a lot of it is parents taking care of. Now, don't get me wrong, single ladies. I know you've done a great job at taking care of your kids, and I can see Sarah. She's ready to chime in on this. But the bottom line is, there are single parents that are doing fantastic jobs out there with their kids. They're acting as mother and father, and they're doing the right thing. But there's parents out there that are just as bad as the kids are.
Yeah. But just like even going back to my question, like if we can pinpoint where the problem, where the repeat offenders are.
Well, that's part
So,
of my program.
Yeah, but like why is it that after all this time that we have a sheriff that doesn't know how to get these people off the streets, doesn't know how to target their criminal activity and do something about the source of all the crime, because it seems like they know who the people are and they're either giving them a pass and not doing anything with them, or they're just complicit and idiots and they don't know how to do their job. Maybe a little bit of both. I don't know.
I think it's probably a little both. But what was that intelligence branch that he's got at the sheriff's office? The cooperative intelligence, whatever. Big long term
Well,
about this long.
He knows who the repeat offenders are, but why he can't arrest them until they commit a crime, I guess.
Well, you can't, but you can do intelligence on them. All right. I was an intel guy in the Army, and you can do intel. You can do do stakeouts. You can get information and find out who they're associated with.
You can find the plug.
There's lots of things. I could go.
I would think they do that. I mean, do they not?
No.
No. But I will tell you this: I can go. It's just intelligence is as simple as digging through your garbage.
Yeah.
I could go outside your house on whatever day they pick up your garbage, pull your garbage bag out, or
You'd find out a lot of stuff, wouldn't you?
Well, wouldn't you? Yeah, you wouldn't even know. You wouldn't even know. I contact the garbage truck and say, hey, when you go to 455, whatever avenue lane, pick up that garbage bag laid aside. I'll pick it up from you when he goes down the block.
Yeah, you find out a lot of stuff.
Right, because once you put that information at the curtilage of your property, at the edge of your property, it becomes not your property anymore. It becomes property of anybody that
Anybody
wants it.
Yep.
And let me tell you, I found out things about one time that I pulled some trash. This was an overseas environment, and it was a government contractor. And I pulled his trash bag because it was dumped in there. We had complaints that he was dumping information. So I went there. I found a hard drive on his computer. In that hard drive, it had all of his kids, his social security numbers. He had his divorce paperwork in there, all kinds of personal stuff that he had dumped in there. And then, if you pull a trash bag from somebody's house, I can tell where you eat, how many times you go out, what do you like? I know your beer that you like. I know your sodas that you love to drink. But my point is I can establish that information, take it, and then I can utilize that somewhere down the line.
You can also get DNA.
Well, we could get DNA if there's DNA, because once the trash is out there, that's it. It's the trash. That's how simple intelligence is.
Yeah, and that goes back to my point. It's like these people in these seats who can do something about crime, who could do something about gangs, they're just not. And so my question goes to why aren't they doing anything about crime? Are they getting a kickback, from the proceeds? Are they like complicit because they're kind of covering for their criminal buddies? Like, this is where the term government gangsters comes into play, because
Organized crime.
yeah, it's just
Mhm.
it's just one of those things where I'm just like, hey, like, there should be enough competence to say these are the repeat offenders of gangs in Columbus. These are where they at. This is where they are. These are the locations that they frequent.
Mhm.
Like, and I'm just kind of frustrated that, as soon as certain people gets into office or is nominated, that it's like these people are like celebrating with a killing
Well,
spree.
what's going on in Columbus
interesting.
is historical. It's all linked to being historical. Let me ask you a question. If you had an employee at your company that was linked to all kinds of failures in your company, would you keep that employee on when you fired him? Would you keep him on? Would you just say, hey, look, dude, you would give him a chance though. You would give him a chance to say, hey, clean up your act. You got to do
Oh,
this
sure,
better.
yeah.
Right? You would do that,
Yeah.
right? But if he did it repeatedly, he or she did it repeatedly, would they continue to have employment in their company?
No, absolutely not.
Would they get hired on, back at the company if they left it?
Definitely not for a higher position.
Okay.
But I mean, there's a possibility somebody could come back on, yeah, but at a much lesser paid position.
So why would you want to elect a city manager?
Exactly.
Why would you want
That was pretty much fired. Yeah, he was
you were
ousted.
fired. Okay, that's the bottom line. You were fired. That's nothing slanderous. You were fired. And you were fired because what reason?
Incompetence.
Well, no, because
Well,
the
Forty-five
city,
point
coun-
one million dollars.
the city council lacked confidence in your ability to do your job.
Right.
That's it. That's what it really comes
And
down
why
to.
wasn't that talked about more in the campaign?
Oh,
by
it was
people?
talked about me.
It
I
was
know,
talked
but-
about a lot.
Yeah, I did
Kogel
it.
should have commented about that. She
I
she
agree.
stayed silent.
She stayed
Yeah.
silent, and that was the listen.
She was probably advised too, but I
Oh,
don't care.
I'm
She
sure.
should've said,
NDA?
Yeah.
I can't stay quiet. I got
Yeah.
to talk about it.
Yeah, well, that was the downfall of the whole thing. And that's what my argument was with the campaign is, and I told everybody, and I told the Republican Party this, and I told everybody else, she does not. Personally, I think she's okay. She's a person. But when it comes down to the politics angle of it and the leadership part of it, she didn't have the leadership skills and abilities to do the job. She talked around in circles.
Yes.
Okay.
I think she would have been better than Isaiah Hughley.
Well,
Do you
oh,
agree
no
with that?
doubt.
Yeah.
No doubt. I don't disagree with that. I don't
Well,
disagree with that whatsoever.
It was also I recommended that Joanne not run for mayor because she focused so much on running for mayor, but because she was running for mayor, her seat is now up for election and she's not running as an incumbent for that seat.
She's not going to run again?
Well, she can't.
She can't.
She can't
Because her seat is
oh, 'cause
her seat was
how
part
many
of the
years she's
election
been
this
on there?
year.
What's that?
How many years has she been on city council?
I think it was.
It's one term that
yeah,
she
it's
served.
Okay.
Yeah, one term.
One
It's just
term,
yeah.
But see, the thing is she would have had a much better opportunity to actually do something for the county, the city of Columbus, if she would have stayed in that position and she would have backed Mark.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well,
I think it was a
Well, I
little
think
short. I think
the-
it was a
the
little
whole-
short-sighted, too.
I think the whole strategy from anybody was to defeat Isaiah Hughley. They really thought she could do it.
Yeah, but why would they
The-
not
the-
have
the
put
peop-
everything behind Mark? Because Mark can do it.
You
He
know
could
what?
do it.
I know I could do it, and I told everybody, listen, I don't take on a project that I know I can't do anything with, because the Army taught me, and I refer back to the Army a lot because the Army taught me the leadership skills and abilities to do a job, and I was a very high-ranking NCO that I was. But I could sit down in 5 minutes and figure out and you present me a problem, I'll figure out a solution to it.
I believe
Because
you.
that's the way
Well,
the Army
can
is taught
Can I
me.
ask you something? Just
Yes,
'cause
sir.
since we're talking about it,
Yeah.
why do you think people who said that I'm not going to support Mark, I'm going to support Joanne, why would they say behind your back that they don't support you?
You want to know why? Because they used that thing about 4 or 5 times that I ran for office and that I didn't get elected. That's the excuse.
Yeah,
they
So they
use.
that's
just
what
thought
they-
you were unelectable.
They,
Unelectable.
Yes.
they think I'm unelectable because I ran it. But you don't understand, folks. The other times I ran for sheriff, my system was cheated on.
Yep.
yes.
My
Yep.
election
Well,
was
did you have
stolen.
people on city council support those previous elections?
No,
The way Joanne,
No.
well, that's what I'm saying. Why?
that's a good question.
Well, I think from what I've seen, because there's been some city councilors that said that Mark will never have a place here in this city. They're just not going to elect him. I personally think because they know his credentials, they know that he will do what he says, like, if they don't want an investigation into the shenanigans that's happening in
There
the
it is.
city,
Yeah.
like, of course they're not going to vote
So-
a good, what are you, FBI intelligence,
Well,
like,
I
you
went
did all,
to the
you did so
FBI
many
school
things.
for intelligence, but the thing to answer your question, David, when I started talking about opening investigations, okay,
You got blackballed by a lot of people on city council then, I bet.
I did,
Yeah.
Because they're
And-
complicit.
and some big name families
Mm.
that are here in Columbus, because that just tells me if I'm open fraud investigations on everything, are these people linked somehow, shape, form, or fashion to the fraud?
Allegedly.
See? So when I start talking about fraud and doing open investigations, this scares the hell out of everybody. My reasoning behind it, folks, is pretty simple. I'm not going to go into a position. I didn't do it as a first sergeant in the military. I didn't do it as an interim command sergeant major. When I came into a unit or a job, I made sure that I studied it. I made sure that everything was above board, that there wasn't any kind of outstanding bills or money or anything associated with that job, because I don't want to be linked to that. I don't
Right.
want to be linked to it. I know a certain, what was it? The $10 million that was missing.
For the landfill?
No. For the court. Remember, and they only had $200 in the account. So
I think that was
The-
that was me that you
No,
told
no.
me that about.
the clerk came out the day after. It was a day after or shortly
the
after
Willie Demps thing.
the Willie Demps
Yeah.
Yeah, didn't he resign because when they started investigating that stuff?
thing. He resigned all right. He
Yeah.
went to jail. He
Yeah,
got
he was,
arrested.
when they announced they were going to do an investigation, he resigned. I remember right.
But the
That-
clerk came out with a letter, said, "Oh, as soon as I found out about it, I went ahead and I, notified the proper authorities." Really?
Damn.
Really?
Right.
Only after you knew that there was a fact that Willie Demps was stealing money. He had like $200 and some in the account, and that lends a new issue to why wasn't that?
But nobody likes investigations at City Hall.
No,
so
they don't.
If you were going
Why?
to voice
You
your
know?
opinion, say, I'm going to start open people, regardless of what they
Yeah.
think might be going on, they're like, oh, he's not the guy for us.
Yeah, I
he's
know.
going in because he's going to make my job.
And
a
then
living-
that, and
He's
that
gonna make my
opens
job
up
live
the
in hell.
question why, if you're supposed to be a public servant to the
Yeah.
people
Yeah.
and you're
Yeah, what do you
supposed
have
to
to hide?
uphold the
Yeah, what do you have to
Constitution,
hide?
why would
Yeah.
you not want someone in
Yeah.
there that
I
can do
think
those
it's just a pain in
things?
the
That's
ass part
that's
of
the
it.
thing that I don't have anything to hide. I don't have nothing to hide, and I don't want to go into a job knowing that there's some open cases, there's open money missing, there's different things like that.
Yeah.
That might not bother some elected officials, but it sure as hell bothers me, because I don't want to be elected to anything or have my hands on anything that I'm not linked to. I don't want
Well,
to be blamed
with
for
regards
that.
to Isaiah Hughley, I'll ask all three of you.
Yeah.
There's been $2.5 million in lost revenue up to $45 million. What do you all believe?
45.
Probably 45.
I believe that Donna McGinnis hit the nail right on the head.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why. Because first of
tell
all,
me who's Donna McGinnis?
she
was
she
the
was
auditor.
the she's
She's
the
one that
auditor.
spoke before
Yeah.
council. I know
Uh-huh.
who you're talking about now.
Yep. And I believe her because she got in there, okay, and she has access to all of that stuff. And why did they go after her so hard?
Yes.
You know, like it's when people are right over the target and of exposure of something, why do they go after you so hard? In that investigative report that was returned, Donna gave testimony to the investigators about what they did, what they were trying to do to her, how they were trying to get her in closed door meetings, how they were
Yes.
intimidating her.
I bet
Why
they
would
were.
they do that? Why would they
Because
do
everybody
that?
was nervous. I guarantee
Exactly.
they were. Oh, yeah.
But the thing is so I do think that it's the 45.1, but I
Yes.
also believe that because I've looked on Isaiah Hughley's campaign and I even exposed this on some of Joanne how do we say it again? I'm sorry.
Kogel.
I had a
Kogel.
brain fart. Like I looked at her stuff. There are businesses that are putting money into these campaigns that there are no licenses for,
Yeah, or they're
and
not
haven't been for
correctly
years.
dressed.
So why do we have all these businesses that are being allowed to operate and they have no license?
Yeah.
You know, like is there a pay for play going on? I will tell you that a lot of these business owners are in each
yeah.
other's circles and
Oh.
Well, this is what they say in Columbus: it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah.
And like I will say that another thing that I've heard. Oh, sorry.
No, I'm sorry. I was just.
no, yeah,
Yeah.
say what you. Oh, okay.
We,
No,
Oh,
well,
yeah.
another thing that I've heard was, with you, Mark, they said, "Oh, we feel like we can't work with him, right?"
Oh, I work with anybody.
But that's the thing. It's like
Yeah.
because you get into these positions and they pull you behind closed doors and they try to persuade you to,
Yeah.
hey, just don't do this, don't say that,
Yeah.
and that $45.1 million fiasco that we kind of blew up with our campaign,
Yeah.
the sheriff campaign.
Yeah.
What happened is that I don't think when Judy Thomas made that comment, it's like, is there $45.1 million missing? I think that wasn't supposed to be, like, nobody was supposed to catch on that much
Yeah,
to it,
But they
Well-
didn't expect Julie
I
to
know-
come
I
in
know.
there.
But see, you had obstruction charges by 2 people that were in there, were charged with obstruction. Of course, the
Yep.
statute of limitations ran out it.
And nothing happened. Yeah.
Right, nothing happened, and that was the hot potato incident we're talking about. Jernigan threw the hot potato at the
He's
sheriff.
an
The
up.
sheriff
Yeah.
threw the hot potato
Yeah.
back and basically said,
I'm dealing with him and Marion right now.
I
He's
don't,
an up.
I don't know anything. I don't know nothing,
Yeah.
And that's, I know that scares a lot of people about what I am, but I'm coming from a standpoint of honesty is what I'm trying to get across, and transparency is what I'm trying to get across to folks. And folks, I work with anybody. I don't care. Trust me, I've worked with some very difficult people across the world. Okay. I spent time in Romania and Bulgaria and all those other times. Try working with the Bulgarians and the Romanians. You talk about difficult people to work with.
Culture of
The-
bullheadedness.
Yeah,
You can
I'll
work
tell
with
the
Bulgarians. You can work with Isaiah Hughley, I guess.
Yeah, well, I don't know about that, but
Might already be.
what? No, I'm not.
No, not you,
I'll
Isaiah.
I'll tell a quick story. When I was in Romania, just tell you how difficult things were. Right, I was there when we were training the Romanian officers, the special forces officers. The colonel, who was American trained, he was a school guy, trained in American schools, trained at the General Staff College and everything at Leavenworth and those classes. Smart guy, very smart guy. And then his commanders were in there. And what we were doing is training, talking about unilateral operations, how we would work with foreign countries and the chain of command. Basically, you're a colonel and then you're a lieutenant colonel, and that's the chain of command, right? And how flexible that is. Well, we work on a decentralized system. So if you're a sergeant first class and I'm a staff sergeant or even an E5, and unfortunately you get hurt bad, you dictate that chain of command down to me. That's how it is. It's the progression part of that, right? Well, over there, they don't. That's the way the system, it doesn't work like that. You cut the head of the snake off and the snake just runs around in circles. That's what it does.
And if you keep the head too close, it'll reattach.
Yeah, yeah. So we operate on a decentralized system where that next person takes over that chain of command and continues on the mission. Well, we were there and we were talking about it, and we were doing about 6 hours worth of training. We were in a conference room, and the commander goes, enough. And we're like, yeah, what do we do? I thought he was angry with us. He goes, no, now we celebrate. I'm going, okay, what's that mean? He gets on the phone and he calls, and they have women in the special forces there. And this lady comes in and she's got thighs bigger than my muscles and all that kind of stuff, and just muscular, right? She comes in with a tray about the half size of this table full of shots of liquor, right? It's their moonshine over there is called Palinka. And they come in and he goes, she sets it down on the table, walks out, and he goes, now we celebrate. And so we're in there doing shots, and I was like, sir, who's going to drive us back to the hotel tonight? Fortunately, fortunately, we had a liaison guy that was assigned to us that took us back to where we needed to go. But that it was just crazy how you can work with these foreign countries and how you work with them. And I can do the same thing here. The most difficult,
I don't doubt that.
yeah,
I don't doubt that. Yeah.
Yeah, the most difficult people that are in here, I can work with. I may not agree with you 100%, but I'm going to agree with you. I mean, we've had discussions between each other.
Oh, yeah.
We've had some heated discussions. I've even hung up on Julia a few times, didn't speak to her for a few
Well, that's
weeks.
good.
and
That's,
stuff.
that's healthy for the show.
Yeah.
Right, it's healthy for the show.
I think so.
But my point is that we can agree to disagree, or we
Yes.
can
Right.
agree to, to work together, one or the other. So that shouldn't scare anybody about it. But when we start talking about those things, that's the reason why it scares them. It scares them that I'm going to open up an investigation, right? they think that I can't agree, that I can't work with them, which is not true. I work with anybody. I don't care. They think I'm an angry man and they think all these kinds of things, man. I'm more humorous than what you think.
I know.
Dad
jokes. I'm like,
yeah.
Some jokes just go over my head. I'm just like, oh my.
Yeah, but I'll tell
What did he say? Was that funny or not?
Yeah,
So,
but I'll tell you, ever since I've been working with you, Mark, you actually have helped me to develop thicker skin.
Yeah.
Because honestly, like dealing with you sometimes, has been
so brash.
has been a little like the directness,
Yeah.
and sometimes you can be taken as brash, but like the longer that I have been in this with you, I understand that your heart is right in it. And
Yeah.
so,
Well, I was trained by Vietnam veterans. Okay. When I came in the service, was December of 1979, I came in. And back then we still had Vietnam veterans. My 2 drill sergeants were Vietnam veterans. And they were very brash, very matter of fact. Everything they wanted to do was, and there's a reason behind that, because they didn't get that type of training or that type of observation from their drill sergeants. They went, got a little bit of training, went straight into combat, went into Vietnam. And so they wanted to do the best job that they could with their troops, and they did it with every troop, everybody. If you fell asleep on guard duty, you're going to get kicked in the head. If you fell, I got kicked in the head one time on a M16 range, and I don't even realize what I did wrong. But seriously, they wanted to make sure that they were putting you into an environment where you were properly trained. And so I took those leadership skills and abilities and I passed them on to the troops that I was in charge with over the years. And I understand some people are going to say, well, this is not an Army unit. No, it isn't. But I'm telling you what, leadership skills and leadership was taught by the military, and it was handed down to the civilian world. That's how it is. There was a thing called the Blue Book. The Blue Book was a leadership book, and it wasn't very thick, but it taught. This was Baron von Steuben was a German officer that taught all the leadership skills, and those have been passed down through the centuries. That book has been passed down. But that's what it's all based off. Leadership is based off that particular book. And that's how our troops trained us over the years. And so I'm not being brash, but I'm being very matter of fact. And I'm correct about what it is. Because trust me, I've had to talk to families, or a family one time, about their dad that died when we were on a combat mission. And that's the most difficult thing you ever got to do when you've got to talk to a family.
Rough. Yeah, that's probably pretty rough.
It's probably the toughest thing I've ever done in the military.
Give somebody the worst news you could ever give
Yeah.
them. Who wants to deliver that? Yeah.
Yeah. And that's the reason why I do the things that I do, why I do them, and why I act the way I do. And you have to understand, can't fault me for that. That's how the military
You think
trained
that's John Anker's kind of the same thing? I mean, he doesn't seem to be able to win it, and I think it's because he just kind of says what he thinks, I guess.
Well, he says what he thinks, but I will tell you this. I don't trust John. I don't trust him.
I don't either.
John has told me a lot of things that, I won't get into the details, but, discovered later down the line that, these things weren't true. So, I can see a used car salesman. I can spot him a mile away. Okay. And I'm using that as a general terminology, but the bottom line is I can spot, as a cop, I've learned to spot people people that don't, are not genuine, are not not genuine at all.
Something that I feel like Columbus needs kind of like law and order. We need kind of like a military direct instruction on how to
this is
get
a military town.
Exactly. We have Fort Benning. Until
88% of the damn people retired here are all military, some shape, form, or fashion.
And you would think that would kind of trickle down to the local civilian level, where you see people are dying, where you see lawlessness, and people are not being held accountable for the crimes that they've committed within government. And this is why we don't have anything taken care of right now. So I do believe we need that authority to kind of get us back into order.
Yeah. In order for that to happen, though, you have to have people that are willing to get involved in rolling in the mud, so to speak. You have to have people who are willing to be vocal. Like, okay, I don't agree with how certain people who, and I don't want to mention their names, but I don't agree with how they came out in support of Isaiah Hughley and how they were going after certain supporters of, say, Mark or Joanne or Steve or Chris or whatever the case was. But what I will say is that they were not afraid to be loud.
Oh yeah.
You know? And so we need people. First of all, we need people who are going to go to the polls and vote. But we
Yes,
also
we
need
need
to
that
have
bad.
people.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, we need to have people who are willing to sign their name to a petition to recall
Oh,
people
yeah.
who are already seated
Yeah,
who are
it-
not doing their jobs. And it goes back to what Mark was asking you, David. Why would you continue, or would you allow someone you knew that was stealing, sleeping on the job, not doing what they needed to do for
Hiring
your business?
criminals.
Like, would you continue to pay them a salary? Would you continue to allow them to damage your business, to run it into the ground,
No.
drive your clientele away? Like no. So, but it starts with people who actually want to be educated. It starts with people who are willing to get uncomfortable a little bit, right? And honestly, I feel like Columbus got exactly what they deserve in Isaiah.
Well, I think that goes back to
Definitely.
the people on city council. They did not say enough about this to voice.
Yeah.
Because they had the most insight into all this, what was going
Oh,
on.
yeah.
how it
It's
was
Because
happening.
they're part of it,
They're
allegedly.
And I thought Glenn Davis might come out and say some stuff. And
Oh,
he kind of
no.
did. But
Let me tell you.
I never heard anything about this is exactly what happened. This is what, and I'll tell you what I think happened with Isaiah Hughley was we lost out on all that revenue because his departments got so lax.
Yeah.
And that's what it was. Some people want to say he stole money. I don't think he stole anything. There's no evidence of that. Has anybody seen evidence that he stole?
I don't
I don't think
I
he's a
don't know
thief.
any
I don't think he's a
direct-
thief. I just think he runs a shoddy operation, so
Well,
to speak.
let me just
and
say-
we lost out on a lot of revenue, which is why I don't think he should be the mayor.
I will say that Hughley made a lot of emergency purchases
Yep.
that went to apparently Countryman is his cousin.
Yeah.
So like apparently the sheriff, a lot of emergency purchases for vehicles and for all kinds of equipment and warehouses and
Yeah.
like a lot of that money went to these areas.
He had an open checkbook, basically.
Yeah, and so like my thing is like, yeah, you don't see it directly, him siphoning money, but my questions would be, does it really cost $2 million in vehicles? Why are we paying top notch for certain amounts of vehicles? Why aren't we kind of using a mechanic that's really skilled in their work?
Yeah.
Why
and-
not fix up these vehicles?
But you're not looking to save money. That's the
Exactly.
thing. And I looked at money saving ideas, and I've done this when I ran for sheriff. Was look for money saving ideas. One time when John Darr ran, one of the ideas I had was fitting in town cars with propane.
Yeah.
And the reason behind that is because they don't go out of town. Now the other ones that have run on gasoline, of course, that's a different deal, because we do as sheriff's deputies or sheriffs, we do pick up people out of town. So you got to buy gas. I mean, that's just
Right.
how things work. And so but that idea was stalled right off from the get-go. And all of a sudden, I don't know, a year later or 6-8 months later, here's the propane tanks down at the city shop.
They're converting everything to propane.
Yeah, they were
yeah.
converting.
But
all
you
the
don't know
in-town
how to do
cars.
anything,
Yeah,
Mark.
that-
Yeah.
I don't know how to do nothing. But that's the idea. Is I think indirectly, I think what's happening is people are, looking the other way. I don't think we need $2 million worth of cars. It's
No.
ridiculous. We
It was
don't.
way
Because-
more.
But you have to understand the motivation behind it, and I understand what it was. The motivation was to create a full service sheriff's office, and the
Roll
beyond.
the CPD under
Well,
it.
yeah,
Well-
he wanted to get rid of the CPD.
Yeah, and that's to create full service sheriff's office.
The country wanted to eliminate the police department.
Yeah.
There
There was a motivation.
with the whole Freddie
Yeah.
Blackman
Yeah.
controversy. There was rumors that they wanted to roll the CPD under
It wasn't a
the-
rumor though. You remember Jackson used to be his buddy. Should Turner told
was
me
gonna have
that
one show,
they
the
used to
sheriff's
talk about it
department.
all the time.
Yeah, and I
interesting.
think now you still have that motivation out there, and Now we're going to be left with what is it, probably $500 million jail that we're going to have to end
Oh,
up
yeah.
building.
Did you
with
ever
tax-
work under Freddie Blackman?
I did. He was my supervisor. I know the
Really?
guy personally.
Well, do you think he did a good job as chief? 'Cause-
No.
Okay, he
He
did
did a
not.
horrible job. He did a horrible job as a sergeant.
Because you said he was slow.
Yeah.
That's why
Well,
he
no.
was just.
It wasn't slow. It was
Incompetent.
incompetent. And I'm going to give you a story to kind of back this up because people are going to go, he was a great chief. No, he was not. Okay. And he was even a horrible sergeant back then. And I'll tell you why. Because when we worked in it was a program called juvenile diversion,
Mhm.
which was a juvenile probation program, basically for kids that were involved in shoplifting, misdemeanor. And I don't even think we had a felony in our program, at least that program. But one day I was trained as a drug tester and I went to McDonald's. You know, that's what I was doing with the adult side of the program. My office was separate from theirs. And I've heard a lot about Freddie Blackman. I heard until he come to the program. And when he came to the program, at first he was down in South Precinct, and I'm going, whew, got rid of him. Ended up in the program. Where did he end up? In our program. And the worst part was this day I went to McDonald's on Victory Drive and Veterans Parkway, excuse me. Went down and I went and parked and went inside because there was a lot of cars in the drive-in. Parked there and came out. I was out in a short amount of time, took off, got my car and went back to the office. About 30 minutes later, I get a call from Freddie Blackman. He calls down to the office and he says, "Did you park at McDonald's?" I said, "Yeah, sure did." "Did you park in a handicap slot?" I said, "No, why would I do that? That's stupid." "In a marked unit, in a marked police unit." And I said, "No, I didn't do that." And he goes, "Well, I need you to meet me down there." I said, "Okay, this is some stupid shit. I can see this already coming up because we've had other stupid shit that happened when he was in program." But I showed up down there and I'm parking. And I parked matter of fact, the parking lot was open and I parked in the exact same spot
That you parked in
that
earlier.
I parked in earlier. And he parks next to me and he goes, "Okay, so where'd you park?" I said, "Right here." He goes, "That's not a handicap." I said, "No shit. No shit,
Well,
Sherlock."
who would accuse you of being parked in handicap? I mean, somebody reported it to him, but who
Yeah,
accused you of it?
a citizen, a do-gooder, these kind of people that call for no reason
Karen.
whatsoever.
A Karen. That's
Yeah,
what-
yeah, a Karen that calls for no reason, probably because I got pissed off because they thought I was parking in a handicap slot, but I didn't because there's 4 slots at the back of the building. That's the reason why they redid the sidewalk back there so that a wheelchair could go up there if they had to park there, because there was no the wheelchair would have had to go all the way around and come back
Yeah.
up. It was just more, and it's dangerous. It would have been a more
Did
direct
he
route.
make an issue of it, though? I mean,
Oh
Freddie
yeah,
Blackman-
wait a minute, it got better. Bobby Peters was the mayor at the time. So somebody called Bobby Peters' office, and that tells you something right there. Calls Bobby Peters' office. Bobby Peters' office calls down to the chief calls down to the sergeant. You see, the shit rolls downhill, right?
Right.
That's how it works, right? Chain of command. And that's why I get called out there. He goes, "Well," I said, "Well, where is it?" I said, "Right here." And he says, "Where's the handicap slot?" I said, "See them over there? See, there's a state law. They have to be marked. Handicap slots slots have to be marked with a sign that's so many inches,
Right.
so much tall, has to be on a pole so high,
Yeah.
but it also got to be marked on the concrete, on the pavement." And that was an old handicap slot that I had parked in. It's an old handicap slot. I'm not that stupid, to park in a marked unit. That's stupid. So he has to call our crime scene detectives over there to take a photograph so that the photograph can be transferred to the mayor's office to show that I didn't park at the spot. That's
Oh my
how
God.
stupid. How stupid. And then this guy is recommended. I don't know who he was recommended by. I'm assuming he was recommended by the chief, which was Chief Bourne at the time. And the recommendation went in to have, and when he got the slot for chief, I'm going, "Oh my God, you got to be kidding." And you heard all of the stories about what was going on, the promotion issue. There were a number of officers, it didn't matter. There were Hispanics, black officers, white officers that put a vote in, and the FOP did, and they had a vote of, it was a vote of confidence. And they didn't have confidence that he could do his damn job. And they
But
also
they
had
gave him the FOP gave him the vote of confidence.
no,
Oh,
they
they did
took
not.
a vote of confidence. And it was that he couldn't even do his damn job.
Mark, I don't remember this, so you can refresh my memory. But around the time that Freddie Blackman was like, they were calling for his resignation and everything, isn't that when we put that story out about Greg Countryman and Freddie Blackman and Greg's campaign friend having him run the
Yeah.
tag? Wasn't it something?
No. That was
don't recall.
the Freddie Blackman thing. That's when I think it was in 21. That's when I initially started into politics. And then whenever the campaign for Mark happened around 22. Wait, when did we start? We started in 23, didn't we?
We started at beginning, kind of middle of 23.
23.
And
It was
carried on into
23 because
20.
that's when I
24.
started college.
Yes.
Yeah.
But I mean, we could talk about this all day long, and you know, there's the problem is, folks, you elect people. I always thought in the process of elections, you elect people that are highly qualified for the job.
Yes.
Isn't that the concept? And that's supposed to be the concept, is that you have confidence that person can do the job, that they're elected to do it. You know, and I understand a lot of times, and Isaiah spoke about this on the campaign trail. You don't have to train me. Day one, I'll know how to do the job.
Right.
A view from the pew, Wayne Hales, okay, we're going to be watching. We will be watching to see if you can do your job from day one.
I'm hoping from day one he goes to jail. But, you know, let's go back to, let's just say, you know, because we're at an hour and 22 minutes. There was something I was wanting to say about just the whole scene. It just seems like every person that is currently in government has had family or has had ties.
Nepotism?
Yeah,
Is that what that's called?
Yeah. I feel like there's just a nepotistic,
Mhm.
I guess, ushering or initiation into government. And like you see, like even right now, because of Hughley, there's a lot of people tied to him. You have his sister.
On the
She's
school board.
Yeah, she's on the school board. Apparently,
We'll talk about that really quick too.
I know, and apparently Greg Countryman is an alleged cousin of Hughley, and then you have his wife on the Senate. What is she? She's a senator, right? A state senator,
State representative.
a
Yeah.
state
The
representative.
senior person on the Democrat side as a state representative, and Reggie Liperato is running against her in that district. That'll go on to the November this year. So
Yeah, see, there's just so many, and this is why we say nepotistic. And then we talk about the former police chief, which is Boren, and now we have a Boren currently as the elections
Well,
director.
they were serving in parallel like positions. Nancy's been the election supervisor for
For 6 years. I
here's
thought, 6,
here's
7 years.
here's what I'm going to say. I think that the whole system, to get right, has to fail. I think it
Yes.
has to fail. I think
Yay, Isaiah!
I think that what we're about to see, and I might be wrong, I'll admit I'm not always right, but I admit that we have to see a complete failure. That's what happened. I think it happened in Macon. We had complete failures down there.
And
And when
you
it-
hate to see that too. 'Cause
You
it's
hate to
not
see
gonna
it
be
because-
good.
You do.
No,
But
it's
you
not
gotta-
going to be
in order to
good.
have a reset,
Yeah.
you got to fail. So we're
Yeah.
going to have to fail and reset it.
And we've been talking about this forever, is that make sure that we don't go down that path. We're under 30 days on our emergency budget.
Mhm.
We're not supposed to be down that low. And that's for times of disaster and any of that kind of stuff. You could have a tornado here that could wipe out the city. And where's that money going to come from?
FEMA.
Yeah, right. FEMA. I had an experience with them at Katrina.
SBA
okay?
loans, more
Yeah.
of that,
Yeah.
some Schwarzenegger
Yeah,
funds.
that was another thing that I never brought up during the campaign. Is I was task force sergeant major for the rescue and relief effort down in Katrina. I had 150 guys. I had a sergeant major that didn't know what to do, but I was trained in Homeland Security, and so I knew exactly what to do. I knew exactly. We came in there. We rescued 5,500 people. Most of them were Haitians down in the 9th Ward. We rescued them, got them out of there. That was with 150 guys. Nobody has that Homeland Security experience that I have. None of them do. And so that's what I was bringing to the table in case we have a disaster. We've had tornadoes here that have wiped out good portions
Oh, yeah.
of North Columbus, right? In
Remember
different
when the
places.
airport was the
Right.
airport? Yeah, it was
So,
like what 1997.
Yeah, you could have like we've seen out west, you could have a tornado that's 5 miles wide or multiple tornadoes, vortices coming down. God forbid that happens, but it could happen.
Right.
And if we have that, you're going to have somebody that has that kind of experience. Take charge, take the bull by the horns. So let's talk. I know you wanted to talk. We're going to kind of wrap this up. We want to talk about the school district and what are some of your pet peeves with that?
Well, you just keep getting the same incumbents, and
Yeah.
I think we've regressed as a school
Oh
district.
yeah.
Regressed
failing.
badly. My kids go to the same high school that Wendy and my wife and I both graduated from Shaw.
Yeah.
And it's not the same school anymore.
Oh no, not at all.
I mean, it's teacherless classrooms in some capacities. They don't have PE anymore, and you got a school board that's just oblivious to what's going on.
Oh yeah.
You know, our chairperson, she wouldn't even send her kids there. Her kids went to private school.
Huh.
You
Yeah.
know? I mean, none of those school board members, unless it's maybe
None.
Columbus. I think somebody has a teenager at Columbus High, which is a very good high school. That's the number one high
Yeah,
school.
my granddaughter is
I
in
went
There's
Columbus.
nobody on that school board that would send their children to
Nope.
Shaw or Jordan or Spencer or anywhere else. They wouldn't do it at all. As a matter of fact, if they were in that situation, they would just go to private school, which is what some of them do.
Yeah.
Most of them,
Uh,
even Hughley's sister, I think she sent her kids
To
to
Pacelli St. Anne, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
to
yeah,
private.
You see, we looked at that too, and I knew how bad the school system was. Yet you've got a school administrator that's making how much money?
267.
He just gave him
50 to 60.
I thought it was 67,000.
60,000.
Yeah. He
He
makes
just
a
got a
lot of
raise.
money.
He
Yeah.
just raised himself
I
another
know.
raise.
You know, I'm going to shock you on this. I'm a supporter of Dr. Lewis. I
Yeah.
think the school board is the issue. We got a good guy that can do a good job, but he works at their bidding,
Yeah.
and these guys come up with absolutely nothing to
I,
try to.
I think it's the opposite.
I think it's the
I think
opposite.
You do?
I think it's more
My
so
wife would
that
agree with y'all. Wouldn't you say yes?
Yes, I agree with you.
She's not a fan of Dr. Lewis.
No,
but
I'm not
But
either.
I keep thinking, you know what? I've talked to the guy. He's a super nice guy. Of course,
Oh, he's a nice guy to talk to.
But I think he really does have a passion for wanting to get things right. But man, the school
No.
board's just out of whack.
No, let
That's
me tell
my
you,
take on it.
my first encounter
we go.
with David Lewis. Okay, so I'm starting fresh into politics, and I'm just trying to get involved. It was at the height of 2020, the whole pandemic, and so my daughter, she was breaking out because of the face mask. Apparently, she's allergic to dust mites, and it causes an allergic reaction. And so I'm talking to Dr. Lewis, trying to tell him, because I go to like the meeting at 12 o'clock, and I had all my kids there. And I was just like, hey, yeah, like we need to stop these masks. These are really harmful for our kids. And, there's so many doctors that are showing what masks do. to-
Identity issues,
Yeah,
and all kinds of stuff.
it's
Yeah,
so
the
many
negative effects. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. And so I was telling him that, and he said something like, I'm not gonna listen. I have he said, I have 30,000 students to worry about in this district. I'm not gonna listen to someone who only gets their information from YouTube. I was like, if I wanted to say you old white person, I would have said
Well, a lot
all
of what he
these
was
things.
implementing though was mandated by the state. So I guess there's that too.
But he
You know,
also
the
got
state's saying this is what you guys have to do. All right, this is what we're going to do.
No, and he also got all of the liberal doctors that kind of validated his point of view for why masks were important. He disregarded all the information of a concerned mother who was telling him that my daughter is having an allergic reaction, that these masks aren't good.
Oh, I can tell you, I've been to the school board myself. I would say no less than my wife was 6 to 8 times probably, and I've spoke at the public forum, different topics.
Yeah.
But I don't think anybody's ever. Dr. Lewis called me one time just to talk to me about it. But I'm saying anything I talked about as far as things they need to be doing different.
Yeah.
They never
Nobody ever brought it up for topic of discussion on the school board. Nothing. I mean,
No.
And they
one time I
won't.
made a passionate little talk about dyslexia. My son's dyslexia.
Well, let's
and
go.
he was struggling, but they didn't give a darn about what I
They
had
don't
to
care.
say.
Let's go back to who former people were on the school board. The Martin, remember
Yeah.
Martin? What was the other guy that was very vocal that backed Martin up down there? I don't remember his name.
Yeah, Frank Myers.
Frank
Talking about Frank
Myers,
Myers and
yeah.
John.
Those two guys were
What was John's last name? It was Frank Myers and John.
Yeah.
I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
they
I-
were lighting the school board on fire.
Yeah.
Man, they were trying to do everything they could to get them fired, man. They got candidates in there to run against them, former school board members. because they were creating some havoc in there.
Oh, he
Yeah.
was.
Well,
Yeah.
and Jay
And
Nathan.
Frank Myers was not afraid to push some buttons.
Right,
No.
I know.
He was getting
I
in there,
know,
and
see?
he was kind of, he had a thing for the school board, I think, because of his law business in some
Yeah.
capacity. Something was going on. So he wanted to get a seat on that board, and man, he started hammering him on everything.
Oh, yeah, I
And so
know.
I got to talking to Frank Myers, and he and I kind of befriended each other. We talk on the phone and things like that. But I'm going to tell you a quick funny story. You remember when he made a crude comment on social media about that young lady who was on our Chamber of Commerce?
Yeah,
Yep.
yeah, I do
He said a
remember.
comment. He looked at one of her pictures and said something like, "You could stand to lose about 20 pounds."
Yeah, I
So,
heard it.
you know,
I
so-
heard about it.
which was an idiotic comment to make. That. So anyway, in the time that I was talking to the school board at Public Agenda, and he was on the school board at the time,
Yeah.
he texted me one day. He says, "David, I know you saw on social media that comment I made, and I really want to talk to you about it. Maybe we can go to lunch. I want you to hear my side of it." So I texted my wife, and I said, "Man, can you believe Frank Myers, jackass, texted me to talk about that girl that he made that comment about?" And I get a reply back that said, "David, this isn't your wife. It's still Frank." I was accidentally texting him, and he hasn't spoken to me since. I don't think I've talked to
Oh
Frank
my gosh, that's perfect.
But I was like, oh, because it was a jackass comment. Though. You don't say that. But when he did, I was like, oh, and then I thought I was texting Wendy, but I was texting Frank Myers that. He said, "This isn't your wife, it's still me." I was like, oh,
Man.
but he did
Yeah.
try. I tell you what, he really did try to stir up things. And
Oh,
get
he
things
stirred it
happening.
up.
And I'll go and give him credit. He's what made me want to come up there and talk. When I heard him talk, I'm like, yes,
Yeah.
he's right about this kind of stuff. I want to go. I'm
Yes.
going to talk. So I started going up there, and of course, he's no longer on the school board because they don't listen. I mean,
Nope.
you've got to have at least. What was it 4 people to even bring something up for discussion on the
Yeah.
school board? He wasn't going to get 3 other people to agree to talk about
Because
it.
they're all yes people.
Oh, and they
Right.
will
And
circle.
that's-
If
yeah.
you run, they will
And
circle
that's
the
what
wagons
drives me
on you
crazy
quick.
with all these incumbents sitting
Yeah.
there. I'm like,
Yes.
what do you do? You don't even have
Yes.
kids in this district.
Yeah, it's
I
time
know.
for
They
you to
think
get the
it's
hell
like it's time
out.
to have some change up
Yeah.
here. Something's got to happen, you know.
Yeah,
what's
but
what's that Mark guy? What's his name?
Cantrell. Mark
Cantrell.
yes.
That guy needs to go.
He's been there too long.
He's been way too long,
I've
and
talked
he's
to him several times.
yeah,
on the phone,
he
yeah.
spent a
know
ton.
the schools in his district.
Yeah.
He doesn't even know.
No, I know. He has spent a ton of money on this campaign this time. He spent a lot of money on signs everywhere in the district and all that kind of stuff. And he talked to me at the city council thing when we had. I'll say that was the all Democrat debate for Davis Broadcasting because that's what it felt like. But he was there and he come up to me and he said, "Hey, Mark, how's it going? Everything?" I said, "Fine, I'm doing okay." And yeah, he spent a ton of money out there because the guy that was running against him, Bob Roth,
Yeah, I tried to support him as just
Yeah.
on social media wise. But
I voted for Bob, but I
I
will
did
tell you
too.
this: Bob and I worked together for the same government contract. Bob is a retired colonel.
I think
Yeah.
I do know that.
Yeah, he was a retired colonel, highly qualified,
Oh,
got
yeah,
the
I
leadership
thought he would
bill.
have done really well.
Oh, he would have been fantastic. He would have been
But he had a
fantastic. in
family
that job.
tragedy that kind of eliminated him from campaigning very hard. He
Yeah.
didn't campaign very hard at all.
Yeah,
But he had something going on in his life that he had to deal with.
yeah,
But and that's what drives me crazy. I mean, you think you get some good people in there, but I don't think Mark Cantrell campaigned at all. He had signs up everywhere.
Yeah,
well,
he had
he
signs
owns a lot
everywhere.
of the businesses.
yeah. Some
where-
of the he owns a lot of
Yeah.
them, like the storage
But I
building
mean, I think
thing and
people
all that.
just go in there and they just who's got the job now? I'm checking right by that name.
Yeah.
Well,
people
when
think
you-
everything's dandy.
when you have selections, that's kind of a confidence that these people, they don't have to answer to their constituents. They just answer to the good old boy system.
it's an easy paycheck.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And and honestly, I cannot ever believe, just especially in light of everything that has kind of arisen, I cannot believe that people would select people like Hughley. I can't believe that a majority of Columbus residents, who I think are more,
History.
I
History.
personally think that they were selected. I don't think that they're legitimate.
If they wanted their first black mayor, why not elect Jaquitra? Because not only would she have been the first black mayor, she would have been the first female black mayor. So if we
Mark,
want
you-
first, why
Speaking
not?
of her, you know where she kind of lost me was at that first CSU debate you were,
Yeah.
you were on stage.
Yeah.
And she said, we've just got to implement some of the things they've done in Baltimore to help reduce
Yeah.
that. Something
Well-
like paraphrasing. When she said that, I said, what?
Yeah.
I said,
and-
okay.
But
I
it-
kind
let me
of
tell you-
could see myself liking her
Yeah.
until she said that. I
Well,
said,
let me
"No.
tell you where that came from.
Baltimore.
That came from Cure Violence.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, Cure Violence was in Baltimore. They were in St. Louis. They were overseas in several different countries.
Columbus, Georgia.
Columbus, Georgia
Chicago.
started out.
Bumper stickers, Cure Violence.
Yeah.
I've seen that.
It's a failure. It's a Ponzi
Yes.
scheme.
Yeah,
it's an
it
absolute
is.
Ponzi scheme. They get into the
Just a way to
cities.
generate money.
Yes.
Yeah, well, in Chicago, they get these cities that are desperate for a solution. I mean, Chicago's got the biggest murder rate. You know, in Philadelphia
Oh,
was the
God.
biggest murder rates in the.
And Baltimore's not too far behind them.
No,
That's why I was like,
they're
What
not.
do you mean implement Baltimore's policies? There's
And
no
so
way.
those what she meant because and the reason I know that is she changed her mind a little bit.
Yeah.
But she had mentioned it before in another debate we
Yeah.
were in, and she said it before, and she goes Cure Violence, and until somebody educated her
us, yeah,
on the Cure Violence issue that it's a failure from
Yeah.
the start. It's a Ponzi scheme, is what it is, because these cities are so desperate for a solution, just like Columbus. We're desperate for a solution, but nobody's got a solution. I'm the only one that brought up the 5-step crime reduction strategy.
And I have a problem with Cure Violence, and this is how I educated Jaketra. And so she is in agreement now. Like, she understands. Like, Jaketra and I have had lots of conversations. But when we talk about Cure Violence, you know, I did the research for that. Like, why do you have a guy who is a natural selectionist? You know, he's what's that word? A eugenicist. Why do you have someone who is about virology and natural selection being a founder of a criminal
I know.
like a suppression program, you know, and you're trying, and the terminology that he's using and that these
Infectious
people use
diseases.
is they want to treat crime like it's an infectious disease. So are
disease.
you going to vaccinate those people? And
I mean,
it
the
reminds
concept-
me.
Yeah, the concept is totally wrong.
Well, and
Right.
it reminds me of Bill Gates. Like, Bill Gates is a eugenicist as well, and I know this because I was in the computer industry. Like, you're creating antiviruses for a computer program that you program backdoors into, so people need antiviruses, and then you're involved in a whole bunch of humanitarian efforts where you go to other countries and you vaccinate Africans and, you know, all of the, like, Ugandans and all of these other people. And so it's like, why? And there was a supposed, I've seen it, but he supposedly presented some option to the Department of Defense where there was a vaccine that would get rid of terrorism, and he labeled Christians terrorists.
Wow.
And so it's like, if you have a guy in Cure Violence that's talking about curing violence like it's a disease, and the terminology he's using, are you going to use that to target people who are rising up
Yeah.
against
It definitely sounds like a kind of
the administration,
Right.
so to speak?
yeah. It definitely seems like
And you
a
really got my wheels
descriptive-
turning on that one, Julie.
You should go look it up. It's on
Well, no,
YouTube.
Cure Violence is all over. It's all over.
Yes.
Just look at some of the cities that it selected and the failures that happened even afterward, and the money they spent. I mean, some of them spent millions and millions.
And
of
then you
dollars.
have a guy, Reggie Lewis. You know, I used to work with him at TSIS, and you know, this guy walked around like he was just the bee's knees. You know, and they talk about how they are supposed to have these like detractors when crime is happening in the city, that they're supposed to go and talk to these people,
Quell
and
violence
quell the
and
violence. But
all
every
those
time
things.
we have a crime, and the news is reporting on the crime, where is Cure
They
Violence?
say
Yeah,
nothing.
yeah,
You know,
they're not doing anything right now. We've
Yeah.
had these murders and stuff, and they're not. I don't see them in the neighborhoods quelling crime.
And then the other thing is, just real quick,
Yep.
you know, the sheriff, according to the Columbus Charter, is
Yes.
responsible for the crime prevention program.
Yes, they are.
But then the mayor has his own board, crime prevention board, where, you know, they're giving crime grants out of.
Useless
and, you know,
money
Crime
being
prevention
spent.
like,
boards and,
they're not
those
doing
grants they did was
anything.
ridiculous.
So why do you have the charter that tells you that the sheriff's supposed to have the crime prevention plan,
Program, yeah.
a program, and then you have the mayor's board for crime prevention, and then you're paying bukus of dollars to another crime prevention that goes through the Department
you
of
just said
Health
it's
and
dollars,
Human
all about dollars.
Resources.
That's why these
It's
programs
all
are there.
about money,
They're
yeah.
money
Yeah.
generators.
And Skip Henderson sits on the health board.
A lot of the councilmen, they sit on a lot of
And they're not
boards.
supposed
And
to.
According
Yeah.
to the charter, they're not supposed to
No.
sit
It's
on
conflict.
any other. But
All
we're
right.
at an hour and 40 minutes
Wow.
mark. So
Yeah, well,
I
think
don't know
we
if you
need
have
to-
any final thoughts.
Yeah, just a few things. We talked a lot about a lot of things, David. We did in your bride here. which was great to have you on. We talked about a little bit about the school board. We could talk about that all day long. We
Oh, I
talk
know.
about
we could
the
beat that up all day.
yeah, the data center. We could go down rabbit holes
Yeah.
all day long.
Well, I
but,
think you and I are now ending this show with kind of agreeing that it's coming and it's a
Yeah.
necessary thing that you hate to see
Yeah.
it, but we're going to get it. And we're just
Yeah,
gonna do it.
I just hope that, I'm in agreement with it now. I just hope that everything that we're seeing some explanations when it comes to the electricity part of that, the water part. I ain't no eco nut, but I will tell you this: I want to make sure that our environment is good for our kids to grow up.
That's
our
right.
families to
It's
grow
very
up. And
important,
I
very
think
important.
I think that's all what everybody kind of wants. They don't,
Sure.
But, Sean Hannity will say, that the Democrats have said that we want dirty air and water and push grandma over the cliff and, grandma and grandpa over the cliff and all that stuff. That was a terminology he came up with. I'm just using that again. I thought it was but I'm very suspect when you have a party that has taken over the narrative of it and everything that's on it. And I know we talked a little bit about, what impressed you either about my campaign and, what were the problems that Joanne had, in her campaign. And I think the basics on that was she just didn't show a lot of, aggression toward him.
Right.
I think a lot of people would have seen more aggression toward her. And she tried to, in the last
At
debate,
the very end.
the very end of the last
Final
debate,
hour.
she said something. And I went after Isaiah Hughley on several different occasions, but one particular one is when WTVM did theirs on the stage, and I got to give him credit. I was smart. I read the rules, and what I said was, I talked about the 19 issues that he's linked to, the failures in the city that he's linked to, and what's her name, the reporter with the dark hair?
D. Armstrong.
No, not D.
No, it was Barbara Gaucher.
Barbara
Gaucher,
Gaucher.
Yeah.
I got to give Barbara. I got to give her credit.
Yeah, because he
Um,
wanted to rebuttal.
Isaiah was over there. I could hear his pen. It sounded like he was scratching through the papers. I'm going to get with Joy. I'm going to get him finally and all that stuff. And then he goes, I got a rebuttal. And
She said,
Barbara
yeah.
Barbara said, no, it's at the end. The rules were you needed to do it while you were in the debate, not at the very end of the closing. So I'm like, yes.
And it wasn't a debate.
I just
it
think
was a
it's-
forum.
It was not a debate. It was
No.
just a forum. But
I just
still.
think it's interesting though that Isaiah, he didn't have really anything to say about any other candidate. They never do. They never have anything to say about any other candidate but Mark.
Exactly.
It's like so
because I was
if
the
you
threat.
weren't, yeah, exactly. If you weren't threatened, then why? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Yeah,
Well, from the very beginning, and we're kind of getting back into it, but at the very beginning, they tried to minimize us, right? Back us down because of the money issue.
Yeah.
So they threw the money up in there, and then I threw a wrench in the works.
I know.
You
We
know,
posted that on every.
Yeah, we posted on everything, and it got national attention and
You mean-
all that kind of stuff.
mhm.
We got national attention on it, and I go, yeah, gotcha.
Got it.
And they had to renege on it. They had to go back and redo the policy. Oh, no, you'll be able to walk the stage. We didn't mean all of that. It
yeah,
was
but
like,
there was
you're
another candidate
full of
they did
crap.
that to, and they didn't actually renege on that. Was Derek Jackson?
Yeah.
He was running for I can't remember senator.
I don't know.
Anyway, he's a Democratic guy. I actually liked his platform, but he actually had the same problem. They wouldn't let him on because of the same reason they told you.
Yeah. So I wouldn't trust Chuck Williams as far as I could throw him. But anyway,
If only everybody was fair. Like in a
yeah, that's all
in a
I was
perfect
asking for
world,
was a fair election.
Yeah, like
that's all.
just be fair. Like we wouldn't trash talk you guys if you didn't do wrong.
Yeah,
if
I
you didn't
know.
give us things to trash talk about,
Well, yeah.
It
you
was
know.
a big topic, though. I mean,
Exactly.
it should have been
It
talked
was-
about more. It was a huge topic.
Yeah, it was a
Yeah.
huge topic.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we talked about those things, and especially the school board and all the issues associated with the school board. It was a good discussion that we had.
Yeah.
And thank you for your bride
I
coming
enjoyed
along
this. I
today.
appreciate you letting me
Yeah,
come on. This
and-
has been nice.
Yeah, and we answered your call. Just the normal citizen coming in here,
I love
talking
it.
about the community's
too.
problems. I think it was a great show. I think I enjoyed that, and we can bring you back on the next
Sure.
time around.
Yeah.
We'd sure love to come on any kind of subject you have.
Can I read some? Can I call out some of the people on the line?
Go ahead.
Okay, so Jason actually said, "What's up, David?" Jason
Jason?
Patterson's
Jason
on.
Patterson.
Oh, yeah,
We
that's
got your bride on here, Martha.
Yeah, Martha.
She's on here watching, and then we got Ashley. She's on. Ashley Williams. She's on here. She's been getting involved in the Columbus stuff again, even though she's
Yeah.
still not in Columbus. This is our hometown. But anyway, there's lots of people that have been watching. I've been watching the numbers in and out, so
You
I
know,
would
there's,
just want to thank you guys for interacting
Yeah.
with us.
Yes, thank you.
I had a hell of a, I've got a hell of a commitment to my wife. And I mention this all the time, 45 years.
Wow.
Yep.
Yeah.
21 here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you're getting there. You're
Yeah.
getting there.
Yeah.
The gray is showing in your beard too. So
I know it.
it's that's called wisdom.
Yes,
That's what
I
they
actually,
told me.
it's
I
wisdom.
hope so.
Yep.
I must have a lot of it. I must be pretty smart. Yeah.
Oh, we
Yeah.
got Sean on here too. Sean Rocks. He
Sean,
says
yeah.
Shaw should be closed.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. Shaw
Yeah.
should be closed. That's
Yeah.
where my son went. My son went to Shaw
Yeah,
too.
we graduated. So yeah, that's why
Yeah.
I hate that it's not as like it used to be, but
Yeah.
oh well.
But listen, it was a pleasure to have you both on today. And we, like I said, we talked about a lot of things. We covered a lot of ground. There are probably going to be a lot of people posting some stuff on there. I'm probably going to get a talk from the golf courses, the mechanic shops, and everything else about the data center and how much water they use and all that kind of stuff. But look, these are questions. These are things that we really need to question and we need answers to. I think,
Yes.
and that's one of the reasons that I initially during the campaign talked about being against. But as I start to learn more and more about what's going on, I think it'll be beneficial as long as we can answer some of these questions that we're. So, thank you, and we're going to carry the show out with who wants to do it this time. Do you want to do it, Julie? You haven't done it in
I
a
know,
while.
she hasn't
so
done
Let
it.
Wendy do it. Wendy.
we're going to carry the show out with a prayer. So we do it every time that we do it. So.
So, Father God, we just thank you so much for this time of community. We thank you, Lord, that we get to have this platform, Lord, to share with other people about the issues in Columbus, Georgia, about the things that impact the citizens and the ways that public servants, God, are not necessarily attending to their duties when it comes to their service to the public. But Lord, we thank you that you see it all. We thank you that you hear it all, that you know it all, and that ultimately everything is under your control, God. You allow things, even if you don't approve them, God, because you've given us free will. But even when the enemy seeks to do harm, it says that you are the one who redeems it for good. And so we thank you that you're in control. We thank you that you are in the hearts and the minds of the people who know you, that you are using certain platforms like this to reach other people, Lord, to get their brains going and get their gears driving, God. And so we just thank you for voices. We thank you for courage. We thank you for just the assembly that you are commanding, Lord. And so thank you for Mark. Thank you for his input and his investment in this show, Lord. We thank you for the viewers. We thank you for the guests, Lord. We thank you for Sarah, Lord, who has come on here and she does the technology and a lot of the content. But Lord, we just thank you for your blessings, Lord, even if we don't understand them. So continue to bless those who are blessing you, Lord. You say that you bless those who bless us, Lord. And so we just thank you for that, Lord. We ask that you would be with us, that you would carry us through our week, Lord, that you would be safety for us, that you would be wisdom for us, that you would just do what it is that you do in order to pronounce your glory. So, Lord, we love you, and it's through your son, Jesus Christ, that we pray. Amen.
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 And folks, that's the end of this show. It carries out. I also wanted to recognize the soldiers that are overseas right now, the families that are grieving for the ones that have just died in this recent attack, and the soldiers that are over there now. We need to pray for their safety and continue to pray for their safety until this conflict is over with. And, in God's name, that we bless them all. And good night, and hope that you have a great weekend coming up. I know I'll be off, and I'll have a great weekend also, finally, after 2 weeks. So,
That's awesome.
Columbus, good night.
Good night.
Good night.